Hello, Misfits. Gonna talk about Ubisoft's press conference now. Just got done watching it. They started off real strong with Far Cry 4, which is obviously a new location, a new villain who is obviously a psychopath, of course, and somehow knows or recognizes the protagonist. Um, so I'm curious to see what that relationship actually is. Takes place in the Himalayas. Um, and what was kind of funny uh, was during the sequence, the villain, when he arrived by helicopter, uh, told was talking to one of his minions or whatever, how he said stop, not shoot, and then he stabbed him in the throat a lot. Got blood on his shoes, was upset about it, and then started talking to the protagonist, saying he recognized his eyes and that they're gonna throw a big party for him, and then uh, he like took a selfie with it too, so that was pretty funny. Um, so that'll be interesting to see what that game is like. Then they showed Just Dance 2015, which obviously has new tracks, and is going to be community driven, I guess. They have a new mode that you can do called a community remix, where you can record yourself going to the song, um, and then you can upload that, and other people can watch you while they dance, or they can rate you, to how well you did. Um, and that comes out in October. Uh, let's see. Then they talked about Just Dance Now, which, as long as you have a smartphone and an internet-enabled TV or tablet, anybody can join in as long as they have a smartphone and can see that tablet or TV, and you can connect straight to it and do your little dance number together. And there's no limit to how many people can play. And they demonstrated that by literally having a ton of people playing, and everyone was scored and things like that. So that was kind of interesting. Not a huge fan of Just Dance stuff, but that was kind of cool. Then they showed one of the things I was most excited for, which is The Division, which I talked about in my Microsoft presser a little bit. And they showed even more. They showed a really awesome trailer, and they explained how you are a civilian elite who is trained in secret, and you were activated 3 weeks after the event occurs, where basically a plague spreads across New York City. And it was a very emotional trailer. They sort of zoomed into a family who was sick. The daughter was sick, and then the mom got sick after the daughter died, and then the dad tried to survive, for their memory basically, and couldn't do it, so he committed suicide. And then they went to outside, and we're talking about how different how people went unnoticed, being in sort of the anarchy that had occurred, and then a group of the protagonists show up, and you can actually see the people who were previously invisible. You just saw like the snow shuffling around, which is really awesome. And then the 4 people show up, and then they run away because a dude with a flamethrower and like a garbage truck with some guys riding on the side of it show up, and it was pretty awesome. And it was a time-lapse video showing sort of like the decline of things up until the point where it started talking about right up until the protagonist, the player character shows up. Then they showed the crew, another time-lapse video of a 2-hour mission going from Miami to LA. There are supposedly no load points anywhere you go as you're traveling. I don't know how it works with switching cars. I'm sure there's probably a load point there, but when you're driving, in a vehicle, as long as you're driving, there's no load points. You can go, New York to LA and have 0 load points, or Maine to Florida or whatever, no load points. You can do crew battles, co-op missions, and you can sign up for the beta now and get in that, and the game comes out November 11th. Then they showed 2 things. They showed a new AC Unity trailer, which is sort of your classic Assassin's Creed trailer where the guy has his mark and he's going, except it was like during the French Revolution, so they had like a bunch of French Revolution-y stuff going on. It was on the eve of the revolution, actually, and a lot of things are going on. There's a huge crowd, and it did the typical sort of combat showing, and then what was kind of cool was at the end of, at one point, 3 other assassins joined in the video, and they started taking out a bunch of different guards all together from different vantage points and things like that, and sort of like did some combo kills, and they did like a smoke kill. It was pretty awesome. Then immediately after that, they showed an actual like gameplay footage of some of the stuff, and it was really good. There was very minimalistic HUD, and there's now like a quest log, and it's more it's still very story driven and things like that, except it's not sort of the linear type of story that we've had in previous things. It's even more open world than it already was, and there's on the enemies now, there's like a health bar that sort of has like little brackets, and it'll light up yellow when they're about to attack, so that's when sort of to counter, at least the bigger enemies do anyway. And then and so I thought that was kind of cool. Let's see what else. The combat, of course, looked amazing as usual, as you would expect, and the Eagle Vision has been improved. He activated Eagle Vision in order to, and he was able to see like all of the enemies that were ahead of him, which is not like the Assassin's Creed games. So that was kind of interesting. And also that your enemies will sort of keep like a rim around them instead of being fully red. So it'll have like a little rim around them of orange. And when you're in a position where you can kill them, that orange will turn to like a deep red, basically. So you sort of have a better indicator of when you're within range, as opposed to, having the little flashing thing in the corner saying, square or whatever to assassinate. Let's see what else. Also, you can seamlessly have friends jump into your game and jump out of your game. I had mentioned that I thought that was going to happen when I talked about it briefly in the Microsoft press conference. and that was essentially confirmed by the video because it was pretty much all single player during his like sort of objective gameplay, and right at the very end, right before the video sort of cut out, 3 teammates sort of walked into the scene. Also, when he was like running around, after can seamlessly go in and out of buildings now instead of sort of the very and like full buildings, not just like one little section that you sort of like guide through like in 3. And so that's really cool. There are also a lot of random events that you can interact with, you know, robberies, things like that. Let's see what else. Alright, and then after that they showed Shape Up, which is an Xbox One exclusive, where you basically play games by working out. There's a replay feature that's kind of interesting, where you can record yourself playing it and then you can later on challenge yourself. So you'll be playing the game while at the same time your past self is playing the game exactly how you had played it earlier. So that's kind of interesting, so you can sort of see your progress as you get better at the games. It was like some sort of piano game where there's a 4-button piano on the ground and you had to step on them and like jump over to the sides and things like that, sort of like a Rock Band but with your feet. And then they also had a push-up game where the more push-ups you do, on the screen, the heavier the objects appear, and the more push-ups you have to do to get those up and things like that. Then after that, they showed Valiant Hearts: The Great War, which is a puzzle adventure set in World War I. It's very stylized. It uses the same engine that Rayman Legends used, which is pretty cool, and it's got sort of that same. It's got a similar art style to it, but it's definitely its own game. It follows 4 characters, and it's like very seems like it's gonna be kind of an emotional game, because it's sort of alluded that the main character is actually like dead or something, and is telling these stories through the past, sort of through letters that he had sent, essentially, is what I gathered from what they showed. And then they ended the show with a really awesome looking game, Rainbow Six Siege. It's been like 6 years since the last Rainbow Six game, but it was really awesome because it started off with, I mean, it was an actual like gameplay footage, pre-alpha, but still better than nothing. And it showed them it showed the police, you know, the Rainbow Six team, scouting out the area of a hostage situation, and then they were talking back and forth while they each controlled sort of different points of view. Someone was using like a helicopter view, someone else was using like a drone that they sent in, and then they planned where they wanted to enter from, whether it was like the front door or like the windows, or if they wanted to rappel from the roof. That was really, really cool. And while the police were doing that, the hostages were setting up defenses, putting up barricades on the windows, on the doors, things like that. And there's breaching mechanics. The entire house was destructible. At one point, he made basically a new wall by blowing it up with some essentially C4. He blew a hole in the ceiling to the basement in order to get down there and try and take back the hostage. So that was really cool. And as they were spraying bullets, that was breaking little holes all over the plaster, and and the walls, which was pretty awesome. It also tells you, it gives you an update when people die. So like at the beginning it was 5 versus 5, and as people died it would say 4 versus 3, 4 versus 2, 3 versus 2, 2 versus 1, things like that, which I thought was kind of nice, because then if you, in case one of your members doesn't have a mic or whatever and they're not listening or whatever and they end up dying, you'll still know that they've died. So that could be useful. And that is all I have on that. I thought it was overall pretty great. They showed a lot of awesome footage. They started strong, finished strong, and it was just really enjoyable. So leave your comments about the press events or my thoughts on the press event down below. And yeah, so Misfit Gamers That Belong, signing out.